Hi, my name is Hunter Knox, and I will be interviewing.
Hi, my name is Jordan Schwalbach.
He is a special ed teacher at the Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind, and I'm going to interview him for my career and technical education class. And my first question is, how has the economy affected your career?
Well, I teach special ed, and so it's kind of a niche field where there's a lot of demand for my particular kind of style of teaching and the type of students that I can teach. And so our job is pretty in demand, fortunately. That said, there have been, we do work for the state, and there have been a lot of pay freezes, so teachers haven't really got a raise in something like almost a decade. So while my job will always be in demand, hopefully, the pay itself is not as competitive as it could be.
And my second question is, what technology and/or software applications do you use in your career?
Well, I teach first grade, and a lot of the literacy stuff that we use is actually made in class, and so I use a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of digital cameras, so we take pictures of activities they're doing and then upload them to the computer, so USB technology, SD cards, stuff like that, and then put them in what's also called Smartboard or notebook software, which is sort of like the Smartboard version of PowerPoint. So a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of multimedia stuff, and then also some sound editing where we have to record the students speaking and then they can hear themselves talk and stuff like that. So like USB microphones and stuff like that. So there's a fair bit of technological know-how you have to have in order to do kind of what I do.
And how did you learn how to use these applications?
I was lucky. I grew up with computers, and so PowerPoint was just something that I'd always used. And then when I got hired, I just fiddled around with Notebook for about 6 months and then learned all of its kind of features, and then also asking my coworkers for help if I had an idea for something and I wanted to do it but I didn't know how. I would ask around how do I make this picture move, or how do I make this fade out? So it was a combination of just trial and error, and then also asking my colleagues for help.
Okay. And what is expected of you in the area of continuing education in your career?
Well, I'm currently getting my master's degree in deaf education, so it's one of the few educational positions that requires a master's degree in order to be certified. And then following that, you can get up to 45 credits of additional college education that actually will increase our pay, hypothetically, but they're not really required. There is, I think, a certain minimum number of professional development hours per year. I think it's something like 20, 25. So we have to, in order to stay certified, we have to ensure that we're taking professional development, which is anything that teaches us how to do our jobs better, curriculum creation, technology, new technology. We do a lot with hearing aids and cochlear implants, and so anything that comes out new with that sort of technology, we need to stay up with, and so they expect us to do that either on our own time, or they do provide some of the professional development in-house through the school, which is helpful.
And could you see yourself working at this job in 10 years?
Yeah, I really like working with students. I like working with this population of students. I like the small class sizes. It's challenging, but I could see myself here in 10 years, or at least within the field still, whether if I'm going to be a teacher, maybe, but I could, speech pathology, audiology, they're all really related fields that work with the same population, so I could see myself here in 10 years.
But if you could choose a different profession, what would it be?
Oh, I like helping professions, anything. I also like working with my hands, so either a nurse or a firefighter or paramedic. I like helping professions that are active, and that's kind of why I like being an elementary school teacher, because there's still a lot of activity, and we get to do cool stuff with science. That, or maybe honestly something construction, because I like working with my hands. I like to build. So if for whatever reason I couldn't do this anymore, those would be sort of the pursuits. Also fields related. I really do like working with kids, and so audiology is something that would a lot of my skills would easily transition, and it's a logical step to a PhD. And also speech pathology would be another option. So those are all things I've considered.
What is the most rewarding / best part of your career?
Ooh, working with kids is good. Kids that traditionally have a difficult time learning because of language difficulties, because of their hearing loss, and growing up they are oftentimes neglected by their parents. unknowingly, because a lot of parents don't know about hearing loss, and so when they have a child who's not talking at 2, they finally go, why isn't my child talking? But by then it's too late, not too late, but it's already very late for kids to start talking, and so they start off very behind. And working diligently with just myself and my colleagues who, like I said, the speech pathologist, the audiologist, other teachers in the field, we work really diligently to help get these kids kind of caught up to where they need to be. And so seeing that and seeing the kids and working with the parents and seeing the parents, seeing their kids improve, getting texts saying like, oh, you'll never guess what so-and-so said today, it was a full sentence, or he's really working on this, or he's really proud of himself. So just having such a small class, you get to really create a rapport and relationships with the families and the students, and that's really rewarding, going to work every day knowing that the things you are doing are really, on a real level, helping the students you're working with. Because without language, it's really difficult to do anything else in life. If you struggle with language, you're going to struggle with almost every other aspect of your life. And so to help kids master that and to be on the right track and a good foundation with language, there are few skills more important. So that's a rewarding aspect.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find this job, and why do you love it?
I actually took sign language as my foreign language, and so I was driving by the marquee one day and it said now hiring. This was about 8 years ago, so I started out as an aide, and then I went and got my bachelor's degree, and I came back, and someone actually who worked there heard that I had graduated and said, hey, we need a substitute teacher, why don't you come on down for a couple weeks until we can find a replacement. But they never found a replacement because, as it turns out, there are more deaf students than are deaf teachers to sort of fill those positions. And so they said, if you go and get your master's degree, we will continue to let you work here. And my program is such that if I promise to work with this population for something like 4 years, they will kind of waive the fee for the master's degree. So that was definitely a benefit and impacted my decision to pursue this career, because I wasn't always going to. I wanted to be a behavioral psychologist. That's what I went to school for, but that was 5 years ago, and plans have changed since then. So that's kind of how I got started, kind of a fluke. So one class in Pima Community College ended up impacting my entire life more than even my major. So it was, a funny story, but you never know what's going to impact how you end up.
And what was your starting salary, like estimation?
Oh God, it's something like it's between 30 and 35,000, I think. I should probably know this, but yeah, I think it's between 30 and 35,000.
And how much years did it take for you to?
Oh, that's a good question. So I started 2 years ago, and I'm going to graduate next year. So it's going to be, I did miss a semester because the classes were full. So it'll be about 3.5 semesters. But I didn't go full time because I was working full time, and it was just not possible. They even said that they wouldn't allow me because U of A, they promised to graduate high quality teachers, and you can't do that if you're going to work full time and taking graduate classes full time. And so it will take me 4 years eventually to get my degree, but it will be worth it because it's in a field I love, and it is assuming I continue with this career, they will pay for it. So they help me out by giving me a career, and then I help them out by fulfilling a high in demand field with kids that not everybody has the skills to work with. So it's a long time in college, longer than I ever intended, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
And so why do you love this job, and why are you staying at it?
That's a good question, because I didn't intend to stay at it. I was only, again, going to be a substitute teacher. The limit is 120 days, and so on the 121st day, I was going to say peace and go back to college to do what I was originally going to do. But just working with everybody, I like the challenge. I like that these kids are especially difficult and challenging, not only this language, but just a whole slew of factors. And I like the people I work with. My colleagues are super intelligent. They love kids, and to be counted among them and to go to work every day with them is extremely rewarding. Also, being a teacher is pretty cool. There's a lot of leeway in the Common Core has just come out, and so as long as I teach the Common Core, there's a lot of leeway in how I teach it. And so it really allows you to be creative, and it really allows you to kind of experiment. And if you have a bad lesson one day, well, you have 179 days to figure out a better way to teach it. So
Do you have like a funny or interesting story about your job?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I'm trying to think of one that wouldn't get anyone in trouble. Yeah.
PG-13.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's mostly because we're not allowed to talk about it because these kids are in special education. We're not allowed to use names and characteristics about them that might make them identifiable to anybody who's not them. And so, I'm trying to think of one. A lot of the stories are just kids using language in funny ways, like they'll just call things the wrong thing, or people call me mother a lot, like, hi mom, I have a question. So that's always really fun because a lot of these kids, the only adult in their life is their mother, so it's, mommy, whenever they have a question, which is just like, no, I'm Mr. Jordan. So that's funny, but unfortunately all the really funny stories are, they're private because of the confidentiality rules. So you'll have to stick with that one. Sorry guys.
And do you like the community that you teach in?
Oh yes, I didn't always, because as a hearing person I'm not deaf, and so you always feel like an outsider a little bit, but they really do accept you. Everybody is sort of on the same page as far as just trying. We're just there to help, and so whether you're deaf, hearing, hard of hearing, we're on the same team. And so that's pretty cool. It feels, as a white male, you don't feel like an outsider often, but I do in that, and it's good, and it's a good feeling to understand other people's perspectives. So.
All right, thank you for letting me interview you.
Oh, my pleasure.